What's going on, everyone? My name is Tenebris, and today I'm gonna tell you dudes why the weapon wheel is a friggin' big deal here in GZ. This may be one of the biggest updates we've seen so far combat-wise, trap-wise, and general quality of life-wise in terms of combat flow. One of the harshest things in Generation Zero is when you run out of ammo for a gun or a med kit or a flare type and have to go into your inventory only to get nuked by machines in the process. But with the weapon wheel, you might not have to do that, or at least not as often. With the additions we'll hopefully be seeing opening up all of the slots to all items and weapon types, you won't have to choose between flares or landmines. You can have a backup gun to your backup gun's backup. And heck, if you want to be a real MVP, you can have an Octo PP. 8 Molar PPs at once, seriously breaking the meta. But on a real note, seriously, if freely choosable, the weapon wheel will open up the sandbox of Generation Zero in whole new ways. First off, for quality of life, let's take a look at the emote wheel that we have currently in game. As you move around, you can freely choose your emotes, and the weapon wheel will work much of the same way. But I think the biggest difference here is input delay. Whether it's guns or items, there's always this kind of millisecond delay to switching between stuff. So hopefully with the weapon wheel, we'll see that input delay reduced or removed entirely when switching between things, because with the emote wheel, it is actually noticeably snappier. Things are a little different on consoles, but I think in general, weapon wheels are faster than double tap and single tap weapon switching. And the other thing too, if this replaces the buttons currently used up for item and weapon switching on console, that will open up huge opportunities in the future. 75% of the controller is used for switching between stuff, when those buttons could be used for other things in the future, like new skills if we ever see the skill system reworked, or potentially other creative avenues like weapon stock bashing for a quick melee, a really long requested feature here. I could totally see a press triangle or Y for bash kind of thing. It totally wouldn't overwrite melee weapons, and hey, maybe that button could then be used with melee weapons for something unique, like a unique melee attack per melee weapon. The thing that I always do when I look at updates in Generation Zero, especially the things that I'm hyped about, is a lot of times I get really stoked for the ripple effect of things. Not so much just the update itself, but the way that could affect things in the future. And I think this is one of those things that could have, like, dramatically huge impacts on Generation Zero's future here, my dudes. Now, on a real note for having backup guns to your backup guns, we can have some seriously powerful loadouts, my dudes. Think of it, like you could have like an experimental PVG, KVM, clock, and shotgun, and then the RLG or something with big splash damage. Or just 8 PVGs fully loaded so that you don't have to reload technically for like 8 magazines. This is gonna be wild, my dudes, and I can't wait to test the upper limits of how powerful this is going to make our current loadouts in the game. And not just powerful, but weird too. I'm not lying about the Octo PP, my dudes. Expect that day 1 of the friggin' update, but you could also have like really interesting loadouts of like something like full hunting rifles, or have a full assault rifle or ammo specific loadout, or every single sidearm in the game all at once, which I'm not gonna lie dudes, I'm super pumped on that. But it's not just weapon loadouts that are getting a really huge buff here from the weapon wheel. Now, for something you dudes know I'm really about here in Generation Zero, traps. I haven't revisited them for ages now, but man, if I ever got a good reason, this is gonna be it. The ease of setting up large-scale traps now will be a much more enjoyable process in the game. Having to jump in and out of the inventory can be really detracting from the process of making traps in Generation Zero. And honestly, that was one thing that traps always needed, a method of placing them to be easier or streamlined. And even though this obviously isn't geared towards trap making, anything that improves traps along the way in the game is something that I'm a big fan of. Now, let's talk about an offshoot of trap making that I'm in the early process of formulating here. Temporary basing in the game, which currently its biggest limitation is the limitations in how you can assign your loadout. The more time you spend in the inventory menu, the clumsier it feels. Where's the ammo pack? Or is the field radio at the top or the bottom of the list this time? Hopefully in the future we'll see the inventory not feel so clumsy. The team's even taken an initiative into looking at inventory management over on the forums, which is awesome. But until that happens, anything that keeps us in the game and out of the inventory is a good thing in my books. But for temporary basing in specific, you need at least 5 slots open. One for the field radio if things go wrong, one for the ammo packs so that way you can keep yourself supplied, one for radios, boom boxes, or lures, one for explosives or EMPs, and one for landmines to trigger them. This stuff's necessary for you to make things well fortified and equipped to the best that you can. And with the weapon wheel, you'll be able to carry all of that stuff and more if you so choose. Now, I'm not saying this isn't possible currently in the game, just that it will be much nicer with the weapon wheel around. As well, in regards to just trap making in general, you'll be able to optimize your loadouts for some really mega traps. Using all of the 8 slots for trap making will allow you to access all of the explosive types in the game, or a huge EMP and explosion field. And still, of course, you can do this now, but I think whatever can make this process easier would be a huge game changer in GZ. We'll be revisiting temporary basing really soon here on my channel, so stay tuned, my dudes. But for now, let's get back to the weapon wheel in specific. What do you dudes hope to see with the weapon wheel? Do you have any loadouts in mind or are planned for when this update drops? The planned release for this is sometime after summer, and hopefully after the team wraps up their well-earned holidays, we'll see GZ expanded in even more ways than just the weapon wheel. Cheers folks, catch y'all in the next one. Peace.